Welcome back everyone. Because what unfolded on this night in the Big Bash League was not just another cricket match, not just another entry on the fixture list, but a reminder of why this format continues to captivate fans year after year. There was electricity in the air long before the first ball was bowled, the kind of tension that creeps in when one team arrives brimming with confidence and the other arrives knowing that survival, momentum, and belief are all on the line. Hobart Hurricanes stepped onto the field with a calm certainty that only comes from recent success, while Adelaide Strikers carried the quiet urgency of a side that knew this game could define their season. From the very beginning, it was clear that caution would not be part of the Hurricanes' vocabulary. The opening moments set the tone immediately. The Hurricanes batters didn't probe or prod or look to feel their way into the contest. Instead, they played with clarity and purpose, showing from the outset that they had come prepared to dictate terms. Every movement, from the way they mocked their guard to the confidence in their stride between the wickets, spoke of a team that had already visualized how this innings would unfold. The Strikers, on the other hand, began with discipline and structure, sticking to their fields and trusting their plans. But in T20 cricket, belief can be fragile, and it only takes a handful of deliveries for that belief to be tested. As the first overs rolled on, the Hurricanes began to accelerate. The ball started to travel to the boundary with increasing regularity, and even when it didn't, the batters ensured the scoreboard kept moving. Singles were taken aggressively, twos were pushed hard, and up balls were treated like minor setbacks rather than warnings. What was most striking was the absence of fear. There was no sense that the Hurricanes were worried about losing wickets early, because their intent was grounded in preparation rather than impulse. Then came the moment that shifted the match from competitive to combustible. One Hurricanes batter, playing with a freedom that bordered on audacity, decided that this would be his stage. It wasn't announced with a single massive hit or a dramatic gesture, but with a series of crisp, confident strokes that dismantled the Strikers' plans piece by piece. A length ball that should have been safe disappeared through the offside. A short ball was pulled with authority. A delivery just outside off stump was carved into the gap, as if it had been invited there. With each boundary, the noise grew louder and the pressure intensified. The Strikers tried to respond logically. They adjusted their fields, brought protection to the boundaries, and mixed their lengths. But logic often struggles against momentum, and momentum was now firmly in Hurricanes' colors. The batter at the center of the storm grew bolder with every over. He began to explore the field, opening his stance, shuffling across his crease, daring the bowlers to follow him. When they did, he punished them. When they didn't, he found other ways to score. Spin was introduced in the hope that variation might slow the scoring, that flight and turn could coax a mistake. For a brief spell, it looked as though the plan might work. A couple of deliveries gripped slightly. The run rate dipped for a moment. But the Hurricanes adjusted almost instantly. The batters used their feet decisively, smothering the turn, driving with the spin, and refusing to be pinned down. The crowd sensed that something special was building, and the energy inside the ground lifted another notch. What followed was a display of modern T20 batting at its most ruthless. The Hurricane star batter didn't just rely on power. He relied on timing, awareness, and an understanding of angles. Scoops over the keeper, ramps past short fine leg, lofted drives that split fielders rather than clearing them comfortably. Every shot was a calculated response to the field that was set. This wasn't chaos. It was controlled aggression, the kind that leaves bowlers second-guessing themselves mid-run-up. As overs passed, the Strikers' frustration became visible. Bowlers paused at the top of their mark, taking longer to compose themselves. Fielders exchanged glances after near misses and half chances. A misfield here, a throw that missed its target there, and suddenly the pressure doubled. In T20 cricket, these small errors compound quickly, and the Hurricanes were relentless in exploiting them. Support from the other end was crucial. While one batter dominated the headlines, his partner played the perfect foil, rotating strike, picking up the loose ball, and ensuring that the momentum never stalled. Together, they built a partnership that felt inevitable, one that grew not through caution, but through shared intent. There was no sense of competition between them, no attempt to outshine one another. Each played their role with clarity, understanding that this innings was about accumulation through aggression rather than individual milestones. As the innings moved into its middle phase, the Hurricanes showed another layer of maturity. Instead of accelerating blindly, they maintained pressure through consistency. Overs that didn't yield boundaries still produced 7 or 8 runs. The Strikers couldn't catch a breath. There was no reset button, no quiet phase where they could regroup. Every over demanded execution at the highest level, and even then, execution often wasn't enough. The Hurricanes batter who had set the platform now began to experiment further. Reverse sweeps, late cuts, and deft touches past the infield transformed good balls into scoring opportunities. Bowlers tried wider lines, only to see the ball guided past point. They tried full and straight, only to watch it whipped through mid-wicket. Each adjustment was met with a response, and the sense of inevitability grew stronger with every passing minute. By the time the final overs approached, the Hurricanes had shifted gears once again. What had been controlled aggression became outright assault. The final stretch was about maximizing damage, about turning a strong total into a daunting one. Slower balls were picked early. Yorkers were squeezed for singles at worst and boundaries at best. Even mistimed shots seemed to find gaps, as if the night itself was conspiring against the Strikers. The crowd was fully invested now, rising with every big hit, roaring with every boundary, feeding the Hurricanes' energy. Fielders looked weary, not just physically but mentally. They knew they were chasing the game, reacting rather than dictating, and that realization weighed heavily. When the innings finally came to an end, the Hurricanes had done more than score runs. They had made a statement. The total on the board wasn't just challenging, it was psychologically imposing. The Strikers' response began with intent, as it had to. Chasing a large target demands bravery, and for a few overs, they showed it. Boundaries came early, and for a moment, the contest flickered back to life. But intent without stability is a dangerous combination, and the Hurricanes' bowlers were quick to exploit that vulnerability. From the very start, the Hurricanes' bowling was disciplined. There was no panic, no search for miracle deliveries. They trusted their plans, hit their lengths, and forced the Strikers to take risks. The first breakthrough arrived not through brilliance alone, but through pressure. A batter, forced to go big against a ball that didn't quite deserve it, mistimed his shot, and suddenly the Hurricanes' end.